Yeah.
There is that weird thing that where you'll make a line of like, that's wrong. That's the exact same act and it's fine. Or like you always say, lots of people say like rap lyrics are far harsher than comedy lyrics.
Oh, way worse. Well, when the Spotify employees,
go.
all these woke Spotify employees were mad at me for having a legitimate discussion with a woman who wrote a book on rapid onset gender dysphoria, which is a legitimate condition where these girls, who many of them are autistic, they're teenagers, and all of a sudden decide they're trans, and they do it in large clusters. And they'll have 5, 6 of their friends. They all decide they're trans. And there's been a tremendous uptick over the last 10 years, ever since transgender people and trans rights has become a big topic. Yeah, it's become a big topic in the culture. And also, they've become in many ways a protected class and a celebrated class, because people, in a good way, because people think they've been maligned in the past and marginalized, and people are saying, no, we're not going to be like that anymore. We're going to celebrate them. So these girls get celebrated for becoming trans, and many of them are really socially awkward. So this is maybe the first time they've ever been celebrated. And then they start taking testosterone because they have this and testosterone gives you this euphoria when you first start taking it, apparently, particularly if you're a woman, I guess, because you don't really have large amounts of it in your system. And then you feel really good and you feel like, oh my God, this is what I've always been. I've been trans. I've just been missing this. And so then they go through this whole process where the thing is, what she has an issue with, Abagail Shrier has an issue with, the woman who wrote this book, is they're self-diagnosing as trans, and they're getting testosterone when they're 15 years old from places like what is that? Planned Parenthood. Like Planned Parenthood will prescribe testosterone. They're the number one prescriber of testosterone, apparently, to young girls. And these girls in some states, particularly in Oregon, you don't even have to go to You don't even have to go to a doctor. You can just self-diagnose as being trans, and they'll prescribe you testosterone. And you can start taking it.
So does that Abagail Shrier related? Does she say that there's also trans people? Or
100%. 100%. She's very reasonable. She's very reasonable. And she says, and I know trans people, and I talk to them, and I'm friends with them, and I love them. This is not the issue. She doesn't have an issue with grown adults. But clearly there's something going on where grown adults just feel like they're in the wrong body. And I don't think anybody has the right to tell them what they can and can't do, nor does she. The question is, what's going on when you have these large clusters of young girls who all of a sudden decide that they're trans, and you have a many 1,000% increase in the amount of these over the past 10 years? It's really weird, man. And she sent me all the statistics before I had her on the podcast, because I wanted to know, what is this? Particularly because I've been, I got attacked when I was against that trans MMA fighter who was fighting women. And only because she didn't say that she was a man for 30 years and was a woman for 2, and then started fighting women. She didn't tell that to her opponents. She just said she was a woman. So she's beating the fuck out of these women who think she's a biological woman. And then it turns out that she had actually been a man for 30 years. My take on it was, listen, if you said from the jump, I'm a trans woman, I used to be a man for 30 years, and they're like, okay, I'll fight you anyway, we're all good. I have no problem. Right. My problem was there was this sort of deceitful tactic of pretending that it's a legitimate medical condition that she doesn't have to reveal to people, and she's a real woman. Okay, you're a real woman in terms of, I'll call you whatever you want me to call you. I'll call you her. I'll use whatever name you'd like. But biologically, we know you have XY chromosome. We know you were a man for 30 years. You got to say that.
I just had a trans woman on my podcast and a comedian, and it's, from what I gather from talking to her, and it was a cool open conversation, but it's just I don't know what's on the inside. I can tell you what I feel like. I don't get hard. You know, it's I have a fucking, I think I have a vagina. It's just not there. Yeah. So it's and that I'm totally 100%.
There's too many people for it to not be real. It's 100% real. And look, man, there's all sorts of weird things with people. We're weird. There's not it's a person is not like this lighter, right? This lighter, you could buy 1,000 of them, and I bet they're exactly the same, because it's fairly simple. The components, they're interchangeable. Everybody knows what's in there. Everybody knows how it works. It's simple. Biology is not simple at all. It's massively complex. and there's
fucking
hundreds
iPhones
of
have a
millions
10% like failure rate. You know, where it's like
Do
out of
they
the
really?
box, it's like you got a fucked up one, and that's like a high level.
Is it 10%?
I think it might be
Just
more.
make up that number. Really?
For 100%, I'm making it up, but like it's from an old memory. I don't care. I'm just talking out.
100%. You're making up that it's 10%.
Yeah.
If it was 10%, they'd be fucked. It's probably a very small number, but either way, it's a real number, right? But
yeah, they're all made on a line, so it's like if they're bugged, things get fucked. I don't know, whatever.
Sweet video, huh? Yeah, it was. And I did it for you. For free. And you know what I want in return? Just one thing. I want you to subscribe. That's right. Did it all for one subscription from you. It's not too much to ask. If you want, go ahead and leave a comment too. That'd be great. But in reality, I'm asking for one thing in return for that sweet content. You click subscribe right there. Come on, don't be a jerk.